Have you ever placed a shell over your ear? Even though you are kilometers away from the shore, don't the echoes resemble the sound of the ocean? In actuality, those aren't eerie ocean echoes. Due to their distinctive shape, seashells are excellent amplifiers of background noises, including air. You can clearly hear air moving through the shell after being greatly magnified. But there are other cool things about them as well. These mobile homes are even more remarkable when you learn more seashell facts. Consider these 15 fascinating seashell facts for a moment. 15. Oldest human art. Do you think seashell art is a recent trend? Rethink that. For thousands of years, people have used seashells as a medium for creative expression. In reality, more recent findings suggest that Homo sapiens were not the first to represent an aesthetic on a wall or shell. The age of a clamshell found in Indonesia ranges from 430,000 to 540,000 years. The shell's surface clearly displays artistic elements, which is a remarkable phenomenon. The fact that the artwork was created by a member of the Homo erectus species rather than a Homo sapien makes it even more fascinating. Homo erectus is a prehistoric relative of current humans, and this finding suggests that even prehistoric forebears may have had the intelligence to create works of art. 14. Seashells make great fertilizers. Remember how we mentioned that mollusks use calcium carbonate to produce their shells? Due to this same characteristic, shells make a fantastic component of powerful fertilizers. Both the pH levels in the soil and the amount of toxicity in the soil are maintained by calcium carbonate. They also facilitate plants' absorption of more crucial nutrients in the soil. Naturally, they also offer calcium, which is crucial for improved plant growth. Additionally, you don't need to worry about dangerous chemicals. Seashells make excellent fertilizers for anyone attempting to maintain an organic farm. 13. The shell beach. Looking for the best place to find shells? In Western Australia, there is a beach that runs over 74 feet and descends as low as 32 feet. This area is well known as Shell Beach because shells cover the entire stretch. Although there are smaller shell beaches all around the world, Australia's is the most well known. There are countless different shells to be found, both shattered and intact. Sulu in the Philippines, Sanibel Island in Florida, and Jeffreys Bay in South Africa are other locations with shell beaches. People who enjoy collecting seashells will adore visiting any of these places. Additionally, they have stunning beaches with crystal clear water, making them excellent tourist destinations. 12. Seashells as instruments. Recall how we previously said how seashells are excellent for enhancing background noises. They are perfect wind instruments because of this same quality. Seashells are used for music in many parts of the world, including Japan and the Caribbean. The conch is arguably the most well-known musical instrument constructed of seashells. It's also known as a seashell horn by certain people. You can also experiment with different instruments, such as Japanese seashell flutes and seashell ocarinas. According to some evidence, the earliest musical instruments may have been seashells modified to blow musical notes. There isn't any hard evidence to support this notion, though. The oldest instruments that are still in existence were made out of bones and were early versions of flutes. 11. People love seashells. The incredible thing is that this is an old tradition. In fact, it's possible that collecting seashells predates the history of humanity. The first known collection of seashells was discovered in Pompeii in 74 AD. The collection contains shells from both nearby and far-off waters, including ones from the Red Sea. The seashells appear to have been collected only for their aesthetic value by the collector. People continue to do so today. Why don't you consider going on a shelling tour and start your own seashell collection? It might be a lucrative hobby to remind you of the different places you've been to. 10. people used seashells as currency. Even at the earliest stages of human history, people have always needed money. Trade used rare and valuable metals like gold or silver as currency when the days of bartering were finished. Cowrie shells, on the other hand, were also a valuable form of payment. In nations like China, India, and even the Arabian Peninsula, cowrie shells served as money. Cowrie shells are still accepted as currency in Papua New Guinea. However, they only use it these days as a kind of nostalgic item, as a way to respect. Shells were great forms of money for two reasons. Uniform shells of high quality were hard to come by, and these shells were durable. More often than not, only the rich and well-established nobles could use seashells as money on a regular basis. 9. They open to the right. Do you realize that most shells are dextral? This indicates that they are opening to the right. Sinistral shells, or those that open to the left, are rare. Sinistral shells are prized by shell collectors for their scarcity. Don't miss the opportunity to grab a sinistral shell if you ever come across one. Beware, though, as there are now a lot of imitation sinistral shells available as well. That noted, reproduction is challenging for creatures with sinistral shells. They are unable to mate with their dextral equivalents. Instead, they must use additional effort searching the wide ocean for a second sinistral. This mating difficulty could be the cause of sinistral rarity. 8. Flat and cone seashell types. As was already noted, there are two main categories of seashells. The flat shell is the first kind. These are typical for clams and oysters. The majority of the time, these are bivalve shells. A strong ligament holds the two halves of a bivalve shell, which open and close, together at the hinge. Within this enclosure, the animal is sleeping. Bivalve shells are used by pearl-bearing clams. The other common shape is a cone kind. When you examine marine snails, the nautilus, or the Argonaut, you'll discover this. These critters are frequently venomous as well, but their shell form makes it difficult for predators to swallow them whole. 7. Seashell shapes are important too. Despite there being thousands of different species of seashells, there are only two main categories and two universal shapes. First, let's talk about the shapes. The first typical form is a spherical, smooth pattern. The animal can move through the ocean swiftly as a result of this. These mollusks must move quickly and covertly to avoid the predators that lie nearby. On the other hand, some seashells have spiky, irregular surfaces. Since there are more predators in tropical waters, these are more prevalent there. Mollusks with these seashells don't move very quickly. Instead, they rely on the shape of their shell to keep predators at bay. They can injure animals that are pursuing them by using the sharp edges. Some mollusks have poisonous, lethal spines at the tips of their shells. Others rely on their shell's weight or thickness to deter larger animals from assaulting them. Oysters and clams are excellent examples of the latter. Since their shells are so securely locked, large fish have a very difficult time breaking them open. Due to the shell's resilience, biting it is also ineffective. 6. How many seashell types are there? While strolling along the shore, did you discover a lovely seashell? Well done, but how can you identify what kind of animal it was for? It is difficult to identify seashells. Let's clear that small obstacle out of the path. This is due to the fact that there are conceivably over 200,000 mollusks in the world, and every one of them produces a different kind of shell. Looking for a brief explanation of the most typical shell types? One is prepared here for you. 5. Shell patterns and colors have engineering purposes. Shells are lovely, aren't they? They frequently exhibit an extensive range of hues and distinctive patterns. It turns out, though, that those lovely designs aren't just for show. Mollusks are thought to employ these patterns and hues as engineering blueprints, according to scientists. The plan enables the animal to decide where to position its mantle, ensuring that it grows its shell in the proper places. However, it is unknown what type of pigment is used by mollusks to produce these hues. These critters and their seashells are the subject of yet another intriguing enigma. 4. Argonauts and their special seashells. Cephalopods, such as octopi and squids, are mollusks that don't form a shell, as was already established. The Argonaut, however, is one species of octopus that did not develop in this manner. Only known octopi with a shell are Argonauts. They can, however, emerge from their shell for a little time. The octopus within can move the shell around because to its distinctive design, which also lessens drag. An Argonaut can't be kept away from their shell for too long. The animal will die if you do. Also, only female Argonauts create a shell. Unlike other seashell mollusks, they don't secrete the shell-crafting chemicals from their mantles. They use their arms to build and repair the shell, thus guaranteeing each shell is always unique to the animal. 3. The exception to seashell facts, hermit crabs. Hermit crabs are the only exceptions in this case. They are crustaceans, not mollusks. Nevertheless, they also make use of seashells. They do not, however, make their own shell. Instead, they will wait for a mollusk to pass away before moving into its empty shell. As long as they can fit within it and transport the shell with them, they will use a range of seashell types as well. This is also not a recent habit. Hermit crabs have been around for millions of years, and they have always used the shells of other animals to protect themselves from predators. In actuality, the first hermit crab to use a shell is 130 million years old and was an ammonite. 2. A mollusk has only one shell. Let's clear up a crucial point before moving on to hermit crabs. Mollusks only create one shell in their lifespan. They build their exoskeleton from calcium carbonate and a variety of proteins. For the remainder of their lives, this serves as their residence. Seashells are neat because they develop together with the animal. The mollusk shell grows larger and older along with it. With each day that goes by, it grows a little bit larger, providing the animal within with additional room. It's crucial to remember that very few creatures retain their exoskeleton during their whole lifespan. As they age, the majority of animals shed their exoskeletons. They then create a larger, more appropriate one for their size. Mollusks, mentioned, stick with the one they started with. 1. Seashells are mobile homes. An animal is not a seashell. It serves as a mobile home for many different kinds of animals. Mollusks are the creatures that naturally inhabit these structures. However, not every mollusk has a shell. The octopus and squid are members of the cephalopod family, which does not use a mobile house to keep them secure. They instead employ alternative forms of defense, such as toxic suction cups on their tentacles or their ink. Whether they have a shell or not, all mollusks are invertebrates, which is one thing they share in common. This indicates that they lack a robust backbone. The majority of the smaller mollusks, such as clams and sea snails, use seashells to protect themselves from predators. There is one special exception: hermit crabs also use seashells. However, they break the rules a bit. We'll discuss them a bit more down below.